Humanity's greatest secrets have never been hidden. They've been placed in plain sight, waiting for someone to develop eyes to see. While millions seek power in empty rituals and guru promises, an operational compendium for manipulating reality's very structure remains encoded in human physiology. It's accessible only to those who dare transform their own body into a living laboratory. The Rosicrucian fraternity doesn't keep manuscripts in underground vaults. Its most precious heritage pulses within each cell, awaiting activation through precise methods that synchronize the 3 dimensions of human consciousness. This knowledge originated in Atlantean mystery schools and has been preserved through millennia. It reveals that bending reality isn't esoteric fantasy, it's consciousness technology applied with scientific rigor. What you'll discover here transcends New Age fantasies about manifestation. The Rosicrucians developed exact protocols for accessing expanded states. In these states, time, matter, and biology respond directly to commands from a trained mind. But there's a price. Each principle requires verification in the internal laboratory before revealing the next level. There are no shortcuts, only the arduous path of personal experimentation. Why does this knowledge remain veiled? The answer defies mystical romanticism, its protection against premature use. A child with matches can burn down the house. An unprepared consciousness with access to cosmic laws can create proportional devastation. That's why the tradition employs layers of encryption. Allegorical novels, symbolic treatises, and initiatic theatre pieces naturally filter out those who are unprepared. Prepare to understand how the cosmos's architecture mirrors itself in the human being's ternary structure. How 3 brains, 3 glands, and 3 bodies form the complete mechanism for dimensional navigation. How superior intelligences await the exact moment of resonance to establish communication. And primarily, how will it cease being brute effort and become subtle attention capable of sculpting realities? The portal stands open. The question is, do you possess sufficient courage to cross through it? The fundamental revelation that Rosicrucians have hidden for centuries demolishes all mystical pretension. Physical reality obeys precise commands when objective, subjective, and superconscious minds operate in perfect synchrony, not through faith or ritual, but through natural laws as exact as gravity. They're just more subtle in their operational mechanics. The Rosicrucian fraternity proclaims direct descent from Atlantean masters. These were the ones who mastered the science of consciousness before the continents submerged. Their lineage passed through dynastic Egypt, where hierophants preserved formulas in double-meaning hieroglyphs. It reached Greece through the Eleusinian mysteries, and finally took root in medieval Europe under new garb. The name Rosicrucian emerged as a Western veil to protect teachings that fused esoteric Christianity with Eastern techniques of internal development. But here's where the genius of transmission lies. There were never secret manuscripts locked in monasteries. The fraternity encoded its knowledge in apparently innocent novels, allegorical theatrical plays, and alchemical treatises incomprehensible to literalists. Each work carries multiple layers. The superficial entertains the curious, the symbolic intrigues scholars. But the operational reveals itself only to those who experiment. Christian Rosenkreutz, the mythical founder, functioned as a code name for the initiation process itself, not necessarily as a historical individual. The organizational structure defies conventional hierarchies. 2 distinct chambers exist. The fraternity proper, composed exclusively of occultists who've tested and confirmed each principle in their own nervous systems, and the order or fellowship, where aspirants await maturation through progressive practices. No master imposes doctrines. Each student must rediscover the truths through direct verification. One axiom governs the entire process. Accept nothing on faith that you can't demonstrate in your own internal laboratory. This method eliminates charlatans and preserves knowledge integrity. When a student deciphers a hidden layer in Rosicrucian text, they prove intellectual merit. When they apply the discovered principle and obtain measurable results, they demonstrate operational capacity. Only then do they receive guidance to the next portal. Progression happens through conquest, never through favoritism. The contemporary urgency for these methods reaches critical proportions. We live in an era where millions seek consciousness expansion through external substances, ignoring the fact that the human body naturally produces all the compounds necessary for transcendent states when operated correctly. The fraternity always knew this. The pineal, pituitary, and thyroid glands form an internal alchemical laboratory capable of synthesizing molecules that no chemist can replicate. Now consider the revolutionary distinction that grounds all Rosicrucian cosmology. Universe refers exclusively to our solar system, an integrated organism where each planet exercises a specific function in developing consciousness. Cosmos encompasses the near infinity of systems beyond ours, each one constituting a complete universe with its own evolutionary laws. The Supreme Architect isn't a separate entity distributing blessings. It's the consciousness substance that permeates all existence, having already implanted in each particle the complete power of self-transcendence. This architecture reveals why religious supplications fail. The complete power was already implanted in each atom from the beginning. The question was never about receiving something external, but about activating what was always latent. And here we arrive at the operational core. How do timeless cosmic laws use human consciousness as an instrument to produce tangible, measurable, reproducible effects in physical reality? The answer begins with understanding that human beings possess three distinct mental systems: objective, subjective, and superconscious. Each one's located in specific brain regions, operates in different temporalities, and when synchronized through precise techniques, grants direct access to material reality's controls. The 17th century Rosicrucian manifestos didn't emerge as literary curiosities. The Fama Fraternitatis, Confessio Fraternitatis, and Chemische Hochzeit marked the calculated moment when the fraternity decided to partially externalize its knowledge. They foresaw the coming era where science and consciousness would converge. Behind these documents' allegorical language hides an operational cosmology that humanity is only now beginning to decipher. The fundamental distinction Rosicrucians established between universe and cosmos brutally revolutionizes our existential understanding. Universe designates exclusively our solar system, not as a set of rocks orbiting a star, but as an integrated living organism. The sun functions as a pulsating heart, radiating not just light and heat, but vital currents that feed conscious evolution. Each planet operates as a specialized organ. Mercury processes communication and interchange. Venus harmonizes and balances. Earth provides the field of maximum densification for tests. Mars energizes and propels. Jupiter expands and organizes. Saturn crystallizes and defines limits. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto operate profound transformations in long cycles. Cosmos, by contrast, encompasses the almost infinite multitude of solar systems, each constituting a complete universe with unique conditions for developing specific consciousnesses. This distinction isn't poetic, it's technical. Each solar system functions as a closed laboratory where evolutionary experiments occur under controlled conditions. A being from our system can't simply travel to another without a profound transformation in its fundamental constitution. The laws governing matter and consciousness vary subtly between systems, creating infinite possibilities for experience and development. The absolute consciousness that Rosicrucians call Supreme Architect completely transcends the religious concept of divinity. It's not a separate entity observing its creation, but the very substance intelligence that constitutes all universes simultaneously. Each atom carries a holographic fraction of this consciousness, potentially containing all the powers of the Absolute. The divine favor that religions promise through supplications was already granted at the moment of emanation. It's the inherent capacity to evolve consciously, implanted in each existing particle. The manual reveals a process called the Great Abandonment, describing the exact mechanics of transcendence. When an individual consciousness expands methodically through the planes, a pattern emerges. From dense physical to etheric, from astral to mental, from causal to Buddhic and beyond. It gradually encompasses not just our entire solar system, but begins resonating with other universes of the cosmos. This process, which can require countless incarnations, culminates when consciousness finally comprehends its true nature. In this moment of total recognition, the need for physical manifestation dissolves naturally. The being comprehends it was always the cosmos itself experiencing itself through a temporary focal point. The mechanism for communicating with superior intelligences follows precise acoustic laws. The apparently empty space vibrates with consciousnesses of all evolutionary degrees. From elementals maintaining natural forces to cosmic intelligences supervising entire galaxies. Communication occurs through sympathetic resonance, similar to tuning forks vibrating when exposed to their specific frequency. The process involves 4 distinct stages. First, the purification of vehicles. Chaotic thoughts, uncontrolled emotions, and egoistic desires create static that blocks the reception of higher frequencies. Second, progressive tuning through specific practices that adjust the practitioner's fundamental frequency. Third, natural protection arises automatically. The very vibrational difference prevents unprepared consciousnesses from accessing information that would overload them. Fourth, real communication manifests through direct impressions in consciousness, instantaneous downloads of knowledge, or universal symbols transcending language. Never thought of inferior psychic phenomena like voices or apparitions. The law of cosmic responsibility operates with implacable mathematical precision. Each being receives exactly the level of assistance their current consciousness can integrate without creating dependency or violating natural development. That's why Rosicrucian masters completely abandoned any form of supplication or worship. All effort concentrates on expanding one's own receptive capacity through 3 pillars: systematic purification of vehicles, deep study of universal laws, and selfless service to collective evolution. This cosmic architecture eliminates the millennial conflict between science and religion, revealing a universe where consciousness and matter form an indivisible continuum, where evolution is the central purpose, and where each being already possesses the complete equipment to consciously participate in the process. It awaits only activation through the precise methods we'll now examine. Rudolf Steiner executed modern esoteric history's most audacious operation. He extracted the Rosicrucian fraternity's operational secrets and translated them into language accessible to the 20th century, not as betrayal, but as a calculated mission. The fraternity itself recognized that the coming era would require progressive externalization of occult knowledge. Steiner became the authorized decoder, transforming hermetic symbols into verifiable spiritual science. His most explosive revelation dismantles centuries of mystical confusion. Human beings don't possess a mind divided into parts, but operate through 3 completely distinct cognitive systems, each with precise anatomical location and specialized function. The objective mind, thinking, manifests through the neurosensory system, particularly the cerebral cortex and sensory organs. This system processes exclusively the immediate present, analyzing sensory data and constructing mental representations of the external world. When you solve a mathematical problem or plan a route, you're primarily using this system. The subjective mind feeling operates through the rhythmic system, heart, lungs, and blood circulation. Contrary to common sense, Steiner demonstrated that emotions don't arise in the brain, but in this median system that perpetually oscillates between polarities. This mode of consciousness lives in an expanded temporality of past-present, where emotional memories continuously color current experience. Each heartbeat carries echoes of previous experiences, creating the emotional substrate that influences all decisions. The superconsciousness, willing, manifests through the metabolic motor system, including limbs and digestive organs. This is the best-kept secret. Real will isn't born in the brain, but in the metabolic depths where constructive forces operate. This system works in a way that is oriented toward the future, preparing conditions for future manifestations. When you feel a genuine impulse for action, before even rationalizing it, you're experiencing this system in operation. Steiner's genius revealed how each system operates at different temporal speeds. Thinking moves at light speed, instantaneous but superficial. Feeling flows at a tidal rhythm, slower but penetrating. Willing pulses at geological tempo, apparently immobile but creating profound transformations. The desynchronization of these rhythms generates all internal conflicts. Their harmonization produces expanded states of consciousness where miracles become natural operations. Steiner's fundamental exercises for synchronization follow a precise progression. First, concentration. 5 daily minutes focusing on a simple manufactured object, observing each detail without digression. This strengthens thinking and creates attentional muscle. Second, initiative. Daily executing a deliberate action, at the same time, however small. This awakens conscious willing, freeing it from automatism. Third, equanimity. Observing emotions without suppressing them or expressing them compulsively. This purifies feeling, transforming reactivity into responsiveness. Steiner advanced by describing superior exercises. Positivity. Finding something valuable even in apparently negative situations, training consciousness to perceive hidden potentials. Openness, suspending automatic judgments, allowing phenomena to reveal dimensions not initially perceived. Harmonization, practicing all exercises together until they become second nature, creating a permanent state of expanded consciousness. The revolutionary concept of organs of spiritual perception demolished vague mysticism. Steiner categorically affirmed that clairvoyance, clairaudience, and direct intuition aren't random gifts, but predictable results of the systematic development of subtle organs through these exercises. The pineal gland, when correctly activated, becomes an eye capable of perceiving higher dimensions. The laryngeal region develops the capacity to hear telepathic communications. The solar plexus transforms into an organ of direct cognition, completely bypassing linear thought. Contemporary neuroscience inadvertently validates these claims. Neuroplasticity proves that sustained practices restructure brain connections. Meditation studies demonstrate activation of normally dormant brain regions. The discovery of the enteric nervous system, the second brain in the intestine, confirms Steiner's wisdom about the metabolic system as the seat of will. Research on cardiac coherence reveals how emotions directly affect heartbeat variability, validating the rhythmic system as the center of feeling. Practical applications transcend personal development. Clear thought, freed from chaotic associations, allows direct perception of patterns hidden in reality. Balanced feeling transforms relationships, replacing projections with a genuine perception of the other. Directed will manifests changes in the physical world through consistent action aligned with universal laws. Steiner didn't offer philosophy. He delivered an operational manual for consciousness hackers willing to experiment. Anthroposophy emerged as a complete systematization of this knowledge, transforming esoteric fragments into an integrated science. But Steiner himself warned, "Don't believe anything you can't verify. The laboratory is your own organism. The results are measurable by any dedicated practitioner. The question remains, how many will dare apply these methods with the scientific rigor necessary to unlock capacities that humanity considers impossible?" Max Heindel and Manly Palmer Hall emerged as parallel decoders of Rosicrucian secrets, each revealing layers that Steiner deliberately concealed or only signaled. While Steiner focused on restructuring European consciousness, Heindel and Hall transmitted raw knowledge to American minds, hungry for direct operational instructions. Their revelations, when overlaid, form a three-dimensional map of territory that Steiner only sketched. Heindel's Rosicrucian cosmoconception exposes occult anatomy with surgical precision. Human beings operate through four interpenetrating vehicles: the dense body, which is the visible physical; the vital body, which is the etheric double; the desire body, which is the astral vehicle; and the mind, which is the instrument of the ego. Each vehicle possesses a specific density and a determined function. The dense body processes physical experiences. The vital maintains form and vitality, operating growth and regeneration. The desire body generates emotional impulses and motivations. The mind discriminates and chooses between impulses, constructing individuality. Heindel's disturbing revelation: when these vehicles lose synchronization, what medicine calls general paralysis of the insane emerges. Consciousness fragments, each vehicle operating independently. The physical body executes actions without mental control. Emotions fire without context. Thoughts spin in loops without connection to reality. The vital mind regresses to infantile patterns. Heindel documented cases where complete desynchronization reduced functional adults to vegetative states within months. But Heindel's genius shines in reversing this process. His nightly retrospection technique systematically reconstructs connections between vehicles. Each night before sleeping, practitioners review the day in reverse order, from present to past, observing actions, emotions, and thoughts without judgment. This apparently simple process executes profound reprogramming. It forces consciousness to traverse events again, but with superior lucidity, creating new neural grooves that replace automatic patterns. Heindel's morning concentration complements retrospection. Upon awakening, before any activity, practitioners focus for 5 minutes on an elevated ideal or sacred symbol. This aligns the four vehicles before daily pressures fragment them. Heindel insisted, without this morning alignment, the entire day transpires in reactive mode, wasting opportunities for conscious growth. Strengthening the vital body through rhythms reveals knowledge suppressed by modern medicine. Heindel mapped how different foods affect the etheric double. Fresh vegetables, especially green leaves consumed raw, carry direct solar vitality. Whole grains provide structural strength. Ripe fruits transmit quickly assimilable energy. Meats and processed products drain vitality, forcing the body to spend energy processing dead matter. Periodic fasts allow deep regeneration of the vital vehicle. Manly Hall approached the same territory from a different angle. Where Heindel focused on practices, Hall revealed the underlying philosophical architecture. His monumental Secret Teachings of All Ages exposed how all ancient mysteries, Egyptian, Greek, Persian, Hindu, preserved fragments of the same primordial knowledge about human transformation. Hall demonstrated that apparently religious symbols encode technical instructions for activating latent powers. Hall's Occult Anatomy of Man maps power centers in the physical body corresponding to states of consciousness. The sacral center governs creative and sexual impulses. The solar plexus administers personal power and magnetism. The cardiac harmonizes superior and inferior forces. The larynx manifests the creative word. The frontal lobe awakens direct vision. The coronary connects with cosmic consciousness. Hall emphasized, these aren't mystical chakras, but verifiable neurological centers responding to specific stimuli. Conscious regeneration through disciplines forms Hall's practical core. Rhythmic breathing activates specific centers. Mantras calibrated at precise frequencies stimulate glands. Body postures redirect energy flows. Geometric visualizations imprint patterns on the vital body. Hall insisted that ancient cathedrals, temples, and pyramids were built as transformation machines, utilizing proportions and materials that induce altered states in prepared occupants. The crucial synthesis, where Steiner built a rigorous intellectual system, Heindel offered accessible devotional practices, and Hall provided a comprehensive historical philosophical context. Heindel appeals to the mystical heart, prescribing love and service as development paths. Hall seduces the investigative mind, revealing hidden patterns in human history. Together, they complement Steiner's scientific approach, offering entry for different temperaments. The convergence of the three reveals an inescapable truth. Human will, when transformed from blind impulse into conscious, continuous attention, becomes a tool capable of molding subtle matter and, eventually, dense matter. The three masters agree. This isn't supernatural power, but natural capacity atrophied by disuse. Reactivation requires only methodical application of the principles we've explored, principles now converging in an explosive synthesis. The explosive convergence between Steiner, Heindel, and Hall reveals a suppressed truth. All three accessed the same source of operational knowledge, only translating it through distinct cultural filters. When their perspectives are overlaid like transparencies, a unified protocol emerges for the systematic activation of human capacities that religious and scientific institutions prefer to deny. The secret isn't in choosing one system, but in understanding how all describe the same consciousness technology. The concept of invisible support forms the central axis where the three masters converge with millimetric precision. Steiner mapped 9 levels of higher consciousness, each exercising a specific function in maintaining and evolving the cosmos. The 3 highest levels, seraphim, cherubim, and thrones, operate beyond current human comprehension, architecting the very structures of space and time. The 3 intermediate levels, Kyriatetes, Dynamis, and Exousiae, administer natural forces like gravity, electromagnetism, and vital energy. The 3 levels closest to humans, Archai, archangels, and angels, interact directly with our evolution. To make this practical, angels influence individual consciousnesses, manifesting as that inner voice warning about dangers or inspiring important decisions. Archangels work with groups, nations, religions, and cultural movements, implanting collective impulses like the sudden emergence of new technologies or social changes. archi operate on even larger scales, directing entire ages like the transition from the medieval era to the Renaissance, or our current shift from Pisces to Aquarius. Heindel complemented this mapping by introducing the Elder Brothers, human beings who've completed terrestrial evolution and now assist from the invisible side. They're not gods or saints, but graduates of Earth School who've mastered the laws operating here. Imagine engineers who built a complex bridge assisting those still crossing it. They form a technical fraternity specialized in transmitting practical knowledge. Their communication occurs through sudden impressions during sleep, ideas that arise from nowhere during meditation, or precise intuitions at critical moments. Hall expanded understanding by revealing how the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, operates literally. External hierarchies mirror internal states of consciousness. Each human being carries representatives of all levels in their constitution. When you feel remorse after a questionable action, you're experiencing the activity of the internal angelic level. When you feel compelled to participate in causes greater than yourself that benefit many, the archangelic level is active. When you perceive profound changes in your fundamental values aligned with global transformations, the archi level is operating through you. The tuning mechanism operates with technical precision. Vibrational elevation isn't an abstract concept. It's a measurable process of refining frequencies emitted by subtle bodies. Obsessive thoughts about problems generate chaotic frequencies of 3 to 7 Hertz that literally repel higher consciousnesses. States of anger or fear emit dense electromagnetic fields in the 20 to 30 Hertz range that create impenetrable barriers. By contrast, deep meditative states generate frequencies of 40 to 80 Hertz that establish resonance with higher dimensions. Natural protections function as an automatic security system. A child can't operate a nuclear reactor. They lack the knowledge and development. Similarly, unprepared consciousnesses can't access energies or information that would overload them. This explains why millions practice rituals without results, without corresponding internal development. It's like trying to tune FM radio frequency on an AM device. True contact requires compatibility developed through consistent work. The concept of invisible masters unifies the three perspectives. They're not mystical figures floating in clouds, but technically advanced consciousnesses operating from dimensions where thought creates reality instantaneously. Their work is precise. They implant specific ideas at calculated moments, orchestrate casual encounters that change life trajectories, and strengthen intuitions when critical decisions approach. Communication never violates free will. It only offers options that the person can accept or ignore. The language of communication transcends words. A recurring dream with a specific symbol carries instructions about your next evolutionary step. The same information appears coincidentally in 3 different sources within a week. A stranger makes a casual comment that solves a problem you've meditated on for months. Books literally fall from shelves, opening at specific pages. These aren't accidents, they're precise communications for those who've developed eyes to see. The unified protocol that emerges is brutally practical. Morning, 5 minutes aligning the 3 centers through focus on a geometric symbol while breathing rhythmically. Day, maintain part of your attention observing where impulses arise from intellectual, emotional, or instinctive centers without judgment. Night, review the day backwards, observing where there was tuning or detuning between centers. Weekly, 24-hour fast, drinking only water to clear communication channels. Monthly, personal ritual at New Mu N, establishing clear intention for higher contact. The convergences reveal an undeniable unified structure. The three masters describe the same territory using different maps. They agree that consciousness creates matter, not the opposite. They affirm that each human is divinity in training. They insist that powers considered supernatural are atrophied natural capacities. They guarantee that the current epoch marks a transition where this knowledge will cease being secret because humanity itself is developing the organs of perception necessary to prove them. The application has already produced results among serious practitioners. Executives report intuitions that saved companies. Scientists describe insights that solved problems after years of impasse. Artists experience inspiration transcending previous personal capacity. Ordinary people develop abilities of healing, premonition, or influence over events. The three masters warn, these are side effects. The real goal is transforming human beings into conscious collaborators of evolutionary forces directing the entire cosmos. The secret manual of the Rosicrucians culminates in a revelation that shatters paradigms. The entire architecture of the universe operates in ternary patterns, and human beings carry in their own biological structure the complete equipment for dimensional navigation. This isn't speculative philosophy, it's consciousness engineering with applications that will redefine human civilization in the coming decades. The Rosicrucian obsession with the number 3 transcends mystical symbolism, its recognition of fundamental law. All manifestation in the universe requires 3 forces: active, passive, and neutralizing. In human beings, this manifests in multiple simultaneous layers, each offering an access point for conscious manipulation of reality. The 3 consciousnesses form the first operational level. Thinking consciousness processes information and makes decisions. Sentient consciousness registers experiences and generates emotional responses. Volitional consciousness drives action and manifests intentions in the physical world. When misaligned, they create the internal chaos characterizing common human experience. When synchronized through the protocols we've explored, they grant access to states where thought, feeling, and action operate as a unified force capable of directly influencing matter. The 3 brains, which modern neuroscience confirms as distinct neural systems, provide biological hardware for this operation. The neocortex, the thinking brain, processes logic and language. The limbic system, the emotional brain, manages memories and affective responses. The reptilian complex, the instinctive brain, controls survival and automatic action. The Rosicrucians knew each brain operates at a specific frequency, and the key to expanded states lies in synchronizing these frequencies through precise practices. The 3 master glands reveal the most explosive aspect of occult knowledge. The pineal, buried in the brain's center, isn't vestigial as science claimed for decades. It's literally a photosensitive eye capable of perceiving frequencies beyond the visible spectrum when correctly activated. The pituitary functions as a control tower, regulating the entire endocrine system and, in initiates, developing capacity for direct perception of energy fields. The thyroid, when operating at elevated frequency, allows manifestation of the creative word, the capacity to materialize intentions through calibrated sound vibration. Steiner detailed 3 bodies that envelop and interpenetrate the physical. The etheric body maintains form and vitality, operating all processes of growth and regeneration. The astral body processes desires and emotions, creating the personal magnetic field that attracts or repels experiences. The spiritual eye represents eternal individuality, using other bodies as temporary instruments. Heindel expanded this into 7 bodies, but the 3 fundamentals remain the operational base. Heindel's 3 spirits, divine, vital, and human, represent evolutionary potentials, not separate entities. The divine spirit is the original spark seeking return to source through experience. The vital spirit is the force animating and driving evolution. The human spirit is self-consciousness, allowing deliberate choice of evolutionary path. When aligned, human beings operate as conscious channels between dimensions. Hall mapped 3 chambers in initiatic temples corresponding to development stages: the outer chamber for purification and basic preparation, the middle chamber for instruction and capacity development. The sanctum sanctorum is where the final union with cosmic forces occurs. He revealed, these chambers exist within the human body itself, the womb as outer chamber, the heart as middle chamber, the head as sanctum where illumination occurs. Alchemical principles encode technical instructions under chemical symbolism. Salt represents the crystallizing principle, giving form in the body, minerals, and bone structure, in consciousness, beliefs, and fixed patterns. Sulfur is the combustible principle generating transformation in the body, metabolic processes, in consciousness, passions and desires. Mercury is the circulating principle uniting opposites in the body, fluids, in consciousness, the mediating mind. The great work consists of balancing these 3 principles until they operate in perfect harmony. The culminating revelation on which the 3 masters agree: when this ternary architecture functions in synchrony, death loses its definitive power. Not as religious belief, but as technical fact, trained consciousness maintains continuity through transition, consciously choosing next conditions of manifestation. Time becomes malleable because consciousness operates simultaneously in the past, present, and future through the 3 centers. Space loses limitation because expanded consciousness isn't confined to the physical body. The civilizational implications are devastating. The age of Aquarius isn't just an astrological change, it marks the moment when this knowledge ceases to be the privilege of a few. Institutions based on control through ignorance will enter accelerated collapse. Educational systems will be revolutionized to develop all human dimensions. Medicine will evolve from symptom treatment to the harmonization of subtle bodies. Governments based on manipulation will yield to structures recognizing individual sovereignty of awakened consciousness. The transformation has already begun. Millions experience spontaneous activations of dormant glands. Children are born with capacities that previous generations considered impossible. Scientific discoveries converge with esoteric knowledge at an accelerating speed. The veil between dimensions becomes thinner each day. The secret manual of the Rosicrucians is no longer secret. It's being activated on a massive scale. The question isn't whether this transformation will occur, but how consciously each individual will participate in the process that will redefine what it means to be human. The journey through Rosicrucian secrets reveals the supreme fraud perpetrated against humanity. They've convinced billions they're limited, mortal beings dependent on external salvation, when each one carries biological technology capable of transcending the very physical laws. The manual was always printed in our anatomy: 3 brains, 3 glands, 3 bodies, 3 consciousnesses, awaiting only someone to provide the activation code. Steiner didn't philosophize. He delivered precise instructions for hacking consciousness through exercises that restructure neural connections. His protocols of concentration, initiative, and equanimity aren't vague spiritual practices, but systematic reprogramming of the human operating system. When executed with technical precision, they produce predictable results: expanded perception, amplified intuition, capacity to influence events through focused intention. Heindel exposed what modern medicine's only beginning to suspect: we're multidimensional beings operating through overlapping vehicles, and disease arises when these vehicles lose synchronization. His nightly retrospection and morning alignment aren't devout rituals, but technical maintenance of subtle bodies. Practitioners report miraculous cures, but there's no miracle, only restoration of natural harmony between vehicles. Hall revealed the deepest conspiracy. All initiatic traditions preserved fragments of the same operational knowledge, disguised under distinct cultural garments. Pyramids, cathedrals, and temples are all built as transformation machines, using sacred geometry that resonates with the internal structures of the human body. The mysteries were never arbitrary secrets, but protection against premature activation of forces that can build or destroy. The ternary architecture permeates each level of existence because it reflects the very structure of the cosmos. 3 forces create all manifestation. 3 dimensions define space. 3 temporal aspects, past, present, and future, weave experience. Human beings, as fractals of the universe, replicate this pattern in their constitution. When consciously aligned, they become operational portals between dimensions. The spiritual hierarchies await our maturation, not as external saviors, but as senior engineers ready to share advanced blueprints with those who've mastered fundamentals. Contact already occurs constantly through intuitions, synchronicities, and sudden inspirations, but most simply don't recognize the origin. Developing this perception is a matter of training, not divine grace. Death reveals itself as materialist superstition. Trained consciousnesses cross the transition, maintaining complete lucidity, choosing the next conditions of manifestation, like changing clothes. Time demonstrates elasticity for minds operating simultaneously in the 3 centers. Space curves before wills that have mastered the art of synchronizing the 3 bodies. These aren't supernatural powers, they're restored natural capacities. The question echoing through centuries has gained critical urgency. If you discovered you carry in your own biology an alchemical laboratory capable of transmuting ignorance's lead into expanded consciousness's gold, if you understood that Steiner, Heindel, and Hall risked persecution to deliver operation manuals disguised as philosophy, if you realized millions around you are beginning to awaken these dormant capacities, while millennial institutions panic trying to maintain control, what would be your response? Would you continue pretending to be just an evolved primate with an expiration date? Or would you finally assume the heritage that was always yours by birthright? The portal remains open. The instructions have been provided. The laboratory is your own body. Real initiation happens the moment you stop seeking external masters and recognize you've always been both the experiment and the experimenter, the mystery and its solution, the question and the answer sought. The Rosicrucians can smile from their tombs, or perhaps from dimensions where death is an outdated joke, observing how many finally begin to understand. The greatest secret is that there was never any secret at all. But understanding intellectually is only the first step. All real change begins with understanding your role as co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence the Rosicrucians described is through meditation, not as escape, but as access technology to expanded states that activate dormant capacities. That's why we've developed a set of audio tools calibrated at exact frequencies that facilitate this synchronization of the 3 centers. They're sound protocols based on the very principles that Steiner, Heindel, and Hall encoded, now available for those ready to leave theory and enter practice. To learn more and get immediate access, click the link on screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, if something inside recognized these truths as awakened memories, write in the comments, "It made sense to me,"